From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
Caught in the crossfire, the governor convinced lawmakers to authorize free tuition at CCRI in the new state budget, only to see that budget get stuck in legislative limbo amid a war of words between House Speaker Mattiello and Senate President Ruggiero. What should students and their parents do? And assuming the program is eventually approved, how does CCRI plan to make it a success? This week on Newsmakers, the president of the Community College of Rhode Island, Meghan Hughes. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi, filling in this week for Tim White, who is on a well-deserved vacation this week. So there's been a coup, and now I'm in the host seat. And I want to thank the president of CCRI, Meghan Hughes, for joining me. President Hughes, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
So, as I said there, got to start with the news of the day. CCRI maybe more in the headlines than you expected right now amid this budget standoff. I should say we're taping Friday morning. It's possible they'll meet for lunch and sort this out in the afternoon, though it doesn't look like that to me at the moment. But I give that caveat in case the news changes. But let's stick with where we are at this moment as we talk. So free tuition is in the budget. The budget is pending. I'm actually getting emails myself, and the newsroom is, from parents and students asking, do we have to pay tuition if we're going in September? Should I apply? What's your message, first and foremost, to parents and students worried about this program?
Great question, and thank you for beginning the program with it. I'd start by saying absolutely yes, please apply. We are, as everyone knows, quickly approaching the beginning of the fall semester, and we'll want our students to be adequately prepared with enough time to hit the ground running. It's a very simple application process, and there are a variety of ways to complete the application. You can either come in to one of our 4 campus locations and apply in person, or you can go online to ccri.edu and complete the application process that way. So my first message would be, please move forward as if this is going to happen, whether that means you will be receiving your financial aid through Pell funding, right, which is federal funding, or whether you would be supported through the state promise should it be approved. The process is virtually identical. If the promise funding is secured, there will simply be an additional kind of one-page application that indicates your commitment to fulfilling the parameters of that funding as stipulated. So my brief message is, please move forward, please continue your plans, and like everyone across the state of Rhode Island, we're following the process very, very closely. And I guess the only other thing I would say is I've sat with all 3 of those leaders who are involved with this conversation, and I am very confident that they support the mission of the college. They understand the difference this potential funding can make in the lives of Rhode Islanders, and I'm going to trust in the process.
So let's talk about that process. The governor Governor Raimondo said earlier this week, she wants to offer the free tuition in the fall, even if the budget is still in limbo, even if they haven't sorted out and actually enacted at that point. Understandably, that raised questions being, well, if you need a bill that hasn't passed, how would you have the authority or the money to do that? And then she said her staff is looking at options. I have to believe you're involved in those conversations too. I mean, what would the options be to get this started that the governor and your staff, I assume, are looking at if the budget is still in limbo come September? Sure.
Honestly, I would kick that back to the governor's team. That's really an examination they will have to make, as given where they sit within the State House. And I'll sort of revert to what I just finished saying, which is I really do believe in the shared leadership within that building, and that the right decision will be made for the students. In terms of what we're doing, right, we're prepared to welcome just under 15,000 students in September, right, with or without the funding. In terms of who will be impacted, should that funding not be secured, several hundred students. And again, what I would really encourage people to do is to remember that this is last dollar funding. right? The majority of our students are Pell eligible, meaning it's the federal funding that covers the cost of their tuition and their fees. So for the majority of Rhode Islanders who traditionally have been coming to our college, their education was being funded and will continue to be funded through federal funding. So again, I would just sort of really encourage people to keep moving forward, and I really do trust in that leadership.
And so the governor's office saying are they saying to you as well as they have publicly, we're going to find a way to do this in September no matter what?
Yeah, I think the message that you're hearing hearing is the message that we're hearing, and obviously we're listening very closely to what the Speaker says and the Senate lead, and sort of, again, I think we're all watching very closely for what happens perhaps as early as today.
So my colleague Dan McGowan, who covers education for us, he noted in an analysis after the final version of the program was put into the pending budget that he said this will place, he thought, an enormous amount of pressure on this year's high school graduates and next year's high school graduates who go to CCRI because it's a pilot program at first. It has a sunset, and obviously they'll be looking at whether it worked and to decide whether to continue with it. You know, are you concerned about that? What's being put on the shoulders of these students who, you know, are going to be the test tube babies for this program?
Sure. I guess I see it slightly differently. Maybe we're in violent agreement. I think Rhode Island high school students have enormous capacity and enormous potential and talent, and we're going to set the bar high and support them to achieve. And I'm really confident. You know, when I sit down and talk to high school students all over the state of Rhode Island, boy, are they hungry for education, and they're hungry to have that opportunity. So. In my experience, if you provide high expectations and you really support your students through, you will achieve the kind of results we believe that this program can achieve.
I've been stunned when I've read about the 2-year graduation rate at CCRI. I believe it's under 10%.
It is.
And I do know that completion is an issue at all community colleges, not just CCRI, but obviously you only can affect CCRI.
Sure.
That number just seems dismal, frankly. You know, what do you say about that number?
I say a couple of things. Do you have any idea what percentage of our students are first-time, full-time? So if 100% of our students, would you want to just throw a dart at the dartboard? It's 8%. Okay. So I would start with you know, the vast majority of our students are part-time students. The vast majority of our students come into the college requiring developmental education, and I know we're going to talk about that momentarily. So if you establish those two parameters, it is just structurally impossible.
Because you're not going to do it in 2 years degree. If you're part-time.
You just simply can't. I would start with a couple of things. I think the 2-year metric is a metric that no longer has the same sort of uniform validity that perhaps it did 50 years ago when community colleges, certainly east of the Mississippi, were junior colleges, right? It was a measure for a particular moment in time. The metric I think we should really be focusing on is for sure the 3-year metric. Now, if sort of nationally the average is just over 20%, our college is at 17% and climbing north, I don't think that number's nearly good enough. And we are laser focused on dramatically increasing that number. And in the year and a half that my team and I have been at the college, are working really closely with the faculty to make that happen. Let me, though, go back to the 2-year, right? Because the promise proposal is designed to serve a particular cohort at the college. I do think it's a tremendous pilot and has real value. And why do I think that's true? Because for the subset of Rhode Islanders who have the capacity, or that this promise would make possible, to actually just dive right into college, take it on full speed, and actually complete an associate degree 2 years out, that has immediate impact, I believe, on Rhode Island's economy. Right? We immediately then have an entirely new body of folks who can immediately enter the workforce, and in my belief, can then transfer to one of our 4-year partners. So I'm excited about what that will do as sort of a segment of who we serve. What we know, and this
are these students already there who are, you think without the promise, it's not happening for them, or do you think you're going to draw in a different type of student, a different group of students who wouldn't come if you didn't have this program?
I think it's a great question, and it kind of goes to the essential nature of this is a pilot, right? And we will be looking closely at, are we going to welcome in students who without the promise wouldn't be coming to the college? I think the answer is, if we look at Tennessee,
which it was the first state to do a free, tuition-free 2-year program.
That's right. I think the simple answer is yes. Cool. The simple answer is yes. The more detailed answer, I think only the first year of data will begin to answer, which is what percentage? You know, what number is that actually, and will it begin to shift how the college is practicing? You know, when I think about where I sit within the college, I think we absolutely have to have a dual focus, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but one way that is true is we absolutely need to figure out how to deliver a model that will enable more students to successfully complete a degree in a full-time capacity within 2 years. And there's a couple of ways we get at that, while simultaneously really acknowledging, look, we serve a predominantly part-time population that's going to continue to grow and be true. So, you know, those are sort of models that have some underpinnings that are synonymous and some very different strategies.
So when so we'll take your 3-year metric then that you pointed to. You said 17% for CCRI. What is holding back the other 80+%?
Sure.
So I need some remedial education to do my math skills there, but you know, 83% aren't doing it. Is it primarily, difficulty in the classroom? Is it just they cannot take a large course load, they need even more than 3 years? Is it financial? What do you see as the predominant, or is there one more than the other reason that you're seeing that number not as high as you want?
I think all of the above, and let's just sort of pick that apart. And also, what is ours? What can we affect, right? Inside the college, what can we affect? What can we touch? And there's a lot. I think the good news is there's a tremendous amount that we can affect. Let's start with developmental education. So for your audience, what folks would want to know is what developmental education means is you arrive at our college, you have a high school diploma or a GED, and you arrive not being ready to take college credit work. That's an enormous drag on our students, and I think there are both practical and psychological reasons for why that drag exists. The practical part is, for our students, the majority of whom, 70% of whom, are part-time. They arrive at our college, they're there to get a degree so that they can then transfer to a four-year school and get a great job, right? That's why they're very clear why they've come to the college, the vast majority of them. So to arrive at our college and to promptly be placed into a class that is actually not earning them credit, that's going to earn them a certificate or a degree, it's impractical. It's taking their time, it's taking their money, and I think it's discouraging. Right? You arrive, I've talked to our students, you arrive at our college, you're ready to do college level work, and we say, welcome, we're going to put you in some developmental ed coursework. I think that's the first drag, and if you'd like, I'd love the opportunity at some point to talk about, so here's what we're doing about it. I think the second challenge historically has been when our students arrive, supporting them with very clear paths forward. I think historically we have done a really good job of creating sort of an abundance of choice, and I think what our students are telling us very clearly is we welcome that choice. We would benefit from having some structure around that choice, so that when we come in, the overwhelming majority of our students are first-generation college students. They're going to require additional advising and support to really just understand how to navigate college. So we've put a lot of time and energy into designing some systems that will make that easier, so that when you arrive, you can say, right, I'm here, I can follow this path in order to get out of this place and to keep moving. And I would sort of, the two things I would direct you to there are the first is a master schedule. So it simply means creating sort of an ordered structure of course delivery, so that for all of our students, but in particular our part-time students, you arrive and you can align your course load according to your job, according to your family needs. So we've implemented that, and we're seeing early wins from that. The second thing is a transfer policy. Right, with Rick and URI, that again, our students come to us, over 70% say, I'm coming to your college so that I can get a degree and transfer to a four-year school. They're telling us that's what they want. I've been so encouraged with President Sanchez at Rhode Island College, and of course President Dooley at URI, who have so willingly, they and their leadership teams sat down with ours and said, look, this is what our students want. Our students become your students. How can we make that more cost effective, more time efficient, in a way that they can get to the end?
All right, we have to take a break. We come back, we're going to talk much more with CCRI President Meghan Hughes about the future of the college, Rhode Island's Promise program, and more. Stick with us on, I almost said Executive Suite, stick with us on Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Ted Nesi, filling in this week for Tim White, and my guest this week is Meghan Hughes. She is the president of the Community College of Rhode Island, I believe a year and a half, or approaching 2 years, year and a half? Yeah, she's been in that big job over there, a lot going on at CCRI. So we were talking before the break about developmental education. It used to be called remedial education. And I think you said at one point in there, well, a different way to put it, that seems like a major failure on the parts of the high schools. The people send it, how much is it CCRI's job? I mean, on the one hand, I suppose you have to help these students because your job is to get them to the college degree, but you're coming in and it sounds like you're trying to redo senior year. I mean, that must be maddening.
So, let's see. Here's how I will respond to that. It's not the first time I've heard it. I certainly hear it when I'm inside the State House. And I guess my answer is actually very similar to what you just said. Sort of, we are open access. It's one of the things I love most about the college. We serve who we serve. And so sort of assigning culpability or responsibility, it actually doesn't advance our work. It doesn't solve anything. And I've come in from the very beginning saying, look, we just need to solve this. And we're going to approach it, I think, twofold. We're going to for sure build significant partnerships with the K through 12 system, and I'd love to have the opportunity to briefly talk about that, and we're excited about that launch this fall. We're also going to tackle it inside the college, right? So I think I am really optimistic that we will see dramatic improvement within Rhode Island, and here's why. We are launching a partnership with the Central Falls School District in September. So again, sort of a demonstration project, help us learn so that ideally we can scale it across Rhode Island. And the idea is very simple, and it's based on successful models from around the country, and it looks like this. It basically is bringing together leadership from the high school and the college, faculty from the high school and the college, and coming together at a table, and I think both institutions learning about one another. It's an opportunity for the high school teachers to learn from the college instructors. What do our students actually need to be ready and to be successful at your college? Because the beautiful part about that table, those faculty members at our college, those high school teachers, they are so passionate about the same students that we serve. Bringing them to a table to solve a common challenge, I think, can produce enormous benefits. So the idea will be, with our faculty acting as advisors and coaches, the high school faculty will build a curriculum that is designed to get their students ready for the college. So excited to see what will happen inside. And again, there are models all over the country. Denver is the one I know best that I would encourage people to look at. And it really, in a word, is sort of college boot camp. Right? So I go back to that concept we talked about earlier. I actually believe that if you say to students, I know you're smart, I know you're talented, I believe your college material, we're gonna apply, we're gonna put you into this boot camp, this college boot camp, so that you're gonna arrive ready. They're going to meet that bar. They're going to succeed. Inside the college, we've done a couple of things in the last year and a half. The first is, prior to my arrival, we had a singular way of placing students into coursework. And again, we had the great advantage of looking around the country and asking ourselves, what are other community colleges doing to take on this developmental ed challenge? And one it's called multi-measures, and it simply says this: welcome to the college, Ted. If you want to take our test, which is the AccuPlacer, to be placed into your gateway math and English classes, have at it. And we'll place you accordingly. If you would like an alternative means to be placed, bring us your high school transcript or bring us a standardized test, whether it's an SAT or an ACT. And we're going to make the best placement into our gateway courses for you. We launched it last fall. We put 300 students into a credit-bearing English class who would not have been placed there without this sort of extra opportunity, and we placed 100 students into a math class. So a cohort of 400 students who would have formerly been placed into developmental coursework were placed into credit-bearing coursework. 80% of the English students passed that course, right? So it's 240 students who would have been parked in developmental education.
But we're able to pass the college course.
We're able to pass and keep going, right, to get to the degree. Math, we have more learning. We had a 50% success rate there. What I would say to that is, look, we got to still learn, but it's 50 more students who, without this intervention, would have been in a Dev Ed class. So that concept of what's called multi-measures. How do we, again, have high expectations for our students, support them, but believe that they can do the work and place them there? Second thing is co-requisite remediation. And that concept simply means you come in, you actually do in fact require some developmental education in order to advance, we're going to compress the time that you do that. So if I'm your, let's say, English teacher, I'm going to bring you into an English class. Half the class at the end of the first part will leave the classroom. They've done their work. They're going to go on to their next either job or course. You're going to stay with me, and we're going to work in a smaller group, and I'm going to give you that I'm going to break the work down into smaller parts, and I'm going to work on the areas that require development. And again, it's ALP is the name, and we're seeing enormously positive results there. So we're seeing students who are performing as well or better than the students that are simply put in the credit-bearing class.
So, unlike some states, Rhode Island has just you for a community college, just one. Mm-hmm. Tennessee, you mentioned before, they have a whole bunch. I know they're bigger, but Massachusetts, they have all different names. They're independent, which means you have to enroll your 15,000 sort of traditional students each semester, and then you do workforce training for another, I think on the odds order of 20,000 Rhode Islanders annually. How do you balance that? And do you think there'd be any benefit to splitting it off or something like that? Does it make it hard to have two big, very different pots going on in CCRI?
Sure. So first, I would say candidly, I think 20,000 is sort of a misnomer. So here's what that 20,000.
I got it off the CCRI website.
It's an accurate number, but let's talk about what we're calling it workforce.
It's not fake news, yeah.
It's not today. It's from that data comes from the Center for Workforce and Community Education.
Okay.
A significant number of that 20,000 is what we do around driving. So drivers ed, motorcycle. So just to be sort of candid.
That's fair.
Here's what I would tell you. I love that the college is both an associate degree granting institution and a workforce development institution. And I believe there's enormous opportunity to do both well. And I guess what I would say is our students come into the college, they want both. Right? They want an outstanding academic education, and they want to be prepared for the workforce. Our returning students are out in the workforce, and they want to actually consume more academic education. So I see it less as sort of two silos or separate schools, and more done well, in front of the curtain. We should be meeting what our customers, who are our students, want. I do believe that is a part of the college that had been underutilized. We are about to bring in our first ever Vice President of Workforce Development. It's someone with a national reputation who I think his charge fundamentally will be to position the college where it should be, which is at the center of workforce development in this state. I'm really optimistic by what we've been able to do in these early days with electric boat and university medicine, with cybersecurity, with advanced manufacturing. We're moving, I think, with even more leadership and filling out that bench. Talk to us in a year and see where we're going. We've had enormous employer support. I think our employers in Rhode Island know what the potential is of our students and is eager to have a pipeline, and we're eager to deliver that pipeline.
I want to ask you about a different thing, which is a story I saw in the Valley Breeze about a dental clinic at your Lincoln campus that the Mission of Mercy operates. The Breeze, I defer to them, knowing the region where they cover. Their editor, Tom Ward, was quite critical of a decision they characterized as no longer letting the dental clinic use a certain facility. What happened with that? Why not allow the dental clinic to continue based on what I read there? We would love to continue a partnership with Rhode Island Mom, which is what we've said from the very beginning. I think the context probably is helpful. There are 31 moms all over the United States. This is Missions of Mercy, I believe? Mission of Mercy. And 30 of them, so Rhode Island is unique, all 30 operate outside of an academic institution. They may take use of facilities, but they raise their own money and they sort of execute it that way. What we began saying to the leadership at Rhode Island Mom a year and a half ago, having listened to our faculty who are preparing for an accreditation, was listen, we're proud of this partnership and we are so glad that we've been able to support it over a period of 5 years. It has been the most significant community investment the college has made, so it's our single biggest investment. We want to continue to be a partner with yours, but we're going to need to move to the model that is the national model. So we will give you one of our field houses at no cost. We will donate $10,000 in our costs that we will absorb in terms of our personnel and everything that goes into managing something like that. We want to be a partner with you. We're going to need to shift the model.
we're disappointed that we weren't able to arrive at that kind of outcome with Rhode Island Mom, and I would continue to invite them to come back to the table to build a partnership that both meets their needs and then allows us to meet the needs of our institution.
So it's a stalemate right now between the two sides?
Well, I would say we feel we would welcome ongoing conversation.
All right, we've talked a lot about challenges for CCRI. We only have about a minute left.
Sure.
What are you most proud of at CCRI after a year and a half there?
Oh boy, that's easy for me to say. I am most proud of our students and the group of people that have devoted their lives to that institution. You know, I think CCRI has had sort of an underdog reputation. The faculty and the staff who have given their careers, they come into those 4 buildings every day. Many of them have done it for a decade, and they teach our students with very little celebration and very little fanfare and on a shoestring budget. They are incredibly inspiring. What I'm proudest of, our students. Our students are doing everything they can to advance themselves and their families, and I think that's what I think we all agree this country is supposed to be about.
All right, and good luck in those math classes. I wasn't good at them either, so stick with it. Thank you, CCRI President Meghan Hughes, for joining me, and thank you for joining us every week on Newsmakers. Tim White will be back next week. Meanwhile, you can catch every episode on WPRI.com or on iTunes as a podcast. See you back here next week on Newsmakers.